Welcome to Linda's Creative Coiling. Today I'm working on the straight wheat stitch. I'm going to show you two different methods to do this stitch. This stitch uses the straight legs of your V-stitches. So what I do, now I go across to the next stitch. I'm looking for this straight leg. What I'm going to do is turn it over and go just under the thread. I find that straight leg and I go just under that thread of the straight leg of my stitch. Go just under there. I'm trying not to pierce the coil. Okay, this pulls across and makes the angle. I pull it tight and I really yank it across to the left. The reason that I do that is it keeps these threads separated. If I don't do that, they kind of get together and too close together. So I yank it to the left. Now I do that same stitch again. I go across and I go just under the thread, same place where I was. I come out in the front. I want to keep this thread to the left of my straight thread. Okay, so again, I go over the top. I go in just under that thread, under the thread on the straight leg of my stitch. I come out in the front, make my angle on the last stitch, and this makes my straight leg on this stitch. I pull, 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 and then I do it again. Go under the thread. Keep it to the left. Keep it to the left. The second method is where you pierce the coil, actually pierce the pine needles. So I'm still using the straight leg. I turn it over. I go in about a third of the way down the coil on that straight leg of that next stitch. I come out in the front about a third of the way. Yep, my hands are slippery. There. Come across. So I turn it over. Turn it over. I go in exactly the same spot. I'm in the coil. Go in exactly the same spot. I come out in front in exactly the same spot. Pull that up. And again, I want to pull that over to the left. And that's how I make my wheat stitches. So you can see here where some I've done where I'm piercing the coil and some where I'm going just under the thread. And I kind of think that just under the thread maybe is a little bit cleaner look. Here you can see all the extra wax from my thread. But you can pick either way. They're both good. This previous row was the spiral wheat stitch, and you can see how it's kind of a spiral look. The straight wheat stitch, it's going on a straight look. It takes a few rows for your pattern to develop and to be able to see it. Stitch spacing is very important when you're doing this stitch. If they're too close together, you get just a real thready look and your pattern doesn't show. But on the other hand, if they're too far apart, like on this basket, they were quite far apart, and this pattern shows well, but it also emphasizes where my stitches weren't very even. So one way to get around that is to work from a wrapped row, and then you can space your stitches more evenly than down here where I was working just from stitches. So that's the straight wheat stitch. I hope you enjoy this stitch and find some places to use it, and come back and see me again soon. Thanks.